doing that, doing the edibles. I remember Alex Jones being there once, and Diaz giving him a cookie. And
That's right.
He goes, "Hey, eat
Vegas.
this cookie." Yeah, and Alex Jones was like, "What's in the cookie?" And Diaz goes, "Eat the fucking cookie." Like what kind of stupid question is that? You know
That's
what's
right.
in there.
We went to eat with him afterwards. He was barbecued. He was so
Barbecued.
much more reasonable back then. He was a different guy.
I never understood how they made him from crazy conspiracy theorist to alt-rightist. I didn't get the connection there.
Well, that connection happened when he became united with, like, Alex Jones became united with Donald Trump, right? Because he was a big part of Donald Trump in the campaign days.
In what way?
Donald Trump would call in. He would call into InfoWars. And
Right.
he knew that Alex Jones had a big base, and Alex Jones would help him get elected. Donald Trump was very clever in who he aligns himself with. Like, when you see him standing there listening to Kanye West, while Kanye West is ranting and saying all this crazy fucking schizo nonsense, and he's like this, that's a smart cookie. Like, he's very smart in when he calls bullshit and when he doesn't call bullshit.
He
You know what I'm
chooses
saying?
to call bullshit.
Yeah, it's like, imagine if Kanye West was debating him and they were doing a presidential debate and Kanye was talking like that. He'd be like, what the fuck is this guy saying?
Exactly. But
What
he's
are you
like, I
saying?
think you're giving up for me, so I'll let
Yeah.
you talk.
Yeah. He's, he's
I just don't get how
aligning
Alex
himself
Jones
with a
went to that,
super
though. Besides
popular
that, so
guy.
that's what it was? Because he would have him on a bunch?
Well, also, alt-right wasn't a thing back then. You got to
Yeah.
realize when Alex came with us to the fights, there was no alt-right.
But he was more like lizard people,
Yeah.
or like, oh, it's a fucking government conspiracy.
Yeah, he was all about...
Don't get him started on 9/11. It's like,
he was all about certain conspiracies.
I remember we were in Austin once when there was a shooting at a army base.
We were there right with him when the
When he was
thing
finding out about
happened.
it.
We were at a bar. Remember
And
that?
he goes, I guarantee you, they're not taking that guy alive. I guarantee they won't let him talk. And then an hour later, like, they got him alive. They shot him in the leg and they got him alive. He goes, yeah, of course they got him alive because they want him to be a fucking martyr for this thing. And it's like, or whatever.
I don't want him to be a martyr, right?
Yeah, and it's like, no matter what, he's just, I'm spinning this to conspiracy. And then I just...
That business is a tricky business,
I just
man.
don't... How they said, like, now you got to be off the air now. And it's like, what?
Well, that's where it's fucked up.
You're just a lizard person guy.
Well, it's not, though, because, like, people were concerned that you're giving out bad information, right? And they're concerned about it. But then with Alex, what came out was the Sandy Hook thing. The Sandy Hook denial thing was when...
Again, conspiracy. I don't get why that's...
Right, but it was a conspiracy involving children being murdered and their parents being actors, and that everyone was like some sort of a crisis actor, and they were hired by the government to take away people's guns. This is the most radical version of
Sure, I understand, and I understand that's wrong and crazy. Where do you get from there to you can't be allowed to say these you've been saying these made up things before,
right?
You're saying it still.
Well, it's
I don't get why it's a hate monger.
You got a really good argument, but here's the argument. The argument is, what is Facebook? What is Twitter? What is YouTube? Are they private companies,
or
which
the
they
media?
most certainly are, or even more so? Are they utilities? Is it like the electricity? Is it like a phone? Like, what should you be allowed to tell someone they can't use it?
Like, I wonder if Jack said, hey, I'm shutting down Twitter, if the government's like, we're opening it back up again.
Right. Or is it like NBC? Because if NBC is a private company and Ari Shaffir says, hey, the lizard people are eating kids and that's who runs 60 Minutes, and they say, no, Ari, you're fired. Look, Roseanne made one fucking bad Ambien joke and they canceled her and they kicked her off of
They were looking to
Roseanne
get rid
show.
of her for any other reason.
They weren't.
They were.
They weren't.
That's not true.
Why do you say that?
Because-
the show was a huge hit.
Because of the outrage over the first season when she was like, she supports Trump.
Yeah, but
I
the
talked
show
to Morgan about it.
Was a giant hit.
But they were looking to get rid of her. This whole group was already saying, we want you out. We're looking for an excuse. Kind of like when they got rid of you at the Comedy Store over filming, when it was like, come on. They already wanted to get rid of you.
Well...
And then they found an excuse to get it done.
That's a tricky argument. Because
they wanted her out so bad.
I don't think they wanted her out. I think they wanted to minimize her.
The left hated her.
That's true. But she was telling me how they were changing the way they were writing things and they weren't including her in the process, where she was very much included in the process during the first season. When they were writing for the second season, they were basically excluding her from the process of premises and the way they were writing the show.
I mean, I read all the outrage about early on. It's like, you're a Trump supporter. And I saw someone like Ray Sani, some young female comedian, going like, when Silverman was like, hey, watch my friend's show, Roseanne, she's great show. And she goes, oh, this is the bitch I got to be fake with at a party and kiss her on the cheek, pretend I'm cool with her. And it's like, what is all this outrage over this pro-Trump thing? And then finally I'm like, let me go watch it. And my friend, Jewish female leftist Morgan Murphy, who wrote it, I talked to her later about it, but I finally watched it, and there's 12 characters in the show. 10 of them don't talk about who they voted for at all. One of them is pro-Trump, one of them is anti-Trump. There's also a little trans kid on there. And that's it. Just one pro-Trump, one anti-Trump. And the outrage that I saw was almost like, I don't think you guys could have possibly watched this episode. I think you're all reading headlines about stories. And that's what I talked to Morgan about. I'm like, it doesn't seem like it could have come from the actual facts.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on, right?
Yeah. And so I feel like it's the same thing with Alex Jones when I'm getting hate monger. I'm like, what? Alex Jones? Just crazy conspiracy guy.
Most of it. Yeah.
Where's
Of it.
hate monger?
Well, yeah.
Does he talk about taking away trans rights or anything like
no.
that?
There was some talk. There was some talk. Alex Jones was saying, in one of the last final straws, it was talking about people taking up arms, and that people are not going to stand it. And it's basically rabble rousing, which is like a lot of what people do, and they're talking about the other side trying to take away your rights, trying to take away your guns. We're not going to stand for it. And people are going to get shot, that kind of talk. I mean, I don't know specifically what he said, but there's a problem that you don't know specifically, right? There's a problem that they can just decide that you represent a certain faction of thought, and that this should be eliminated from, you should be deplatformed. Instead, like
deplatformed for a conspiracy guy, and they goes, people are going up to those parents and saying like, your kid's not dead, and it's
that's
like
a real issue.
Yeah, but it's like he's not calling for that. That's what they're doing on their own.
Right.
Somebody shot 2 cops in New York because of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
You don't shut down the Black Lives Matter movement over that. They weren't asking for them to shoot cops. Someone did that on their own.
There was also
he wasn't asking for them to do that.
Right. No, he wasn't.
So I don't see how you deplatform. The only great article I've read was by a trans woman who said, when I hear crazy shit like that, I feel like you're supposed to roll your eyes and then walk away. You don't say, hey, you need to get gone.
Well,
deplatforming people, that's a good way to put it.
That is what they're saying. And it seemed like it was a universal deplatforming, because Twitter was one of the last places that kept him on. And then they decided that they were going to remove him, but I didn't see anything specifically.
Because.
Yeah.
Like they have some rules, like that when they got who's a woman that was Rose McGowan, and then she was talking about a rape, and people are like, how dare you? She outed a rape, and then you deplatformed her from that, or you just took her down from that. And then that was the story. That was a headline. Everyone's like, how dare you, Jack? Is that the guy from Twitter?
Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, how dare you? And then he actually responded. He goes, oh, no. She doxed somebody. She gave somebody's information about where they live and stuff like that. And we already had that rule. You can't do that. Right. Nothing to do with why she doxed him.
Well, let's
it was just
Google,
over that.
Why don't you Google what exactly got Alex Jones kicked off Twitter? Because Twitter was one of the last platforms. And then they can say hate speech. And hate speech is one of those weird,
so broad
terms.
It's like, well, I hate you.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I really am like, I think people are forgetting how the ACLU defended the Klan members. Because the free speech is too big a fucking issue to worry about how I feel about what they're saying.
Well, what's really interesting is that left-leaning people, the leftists, are the ones that want to censor and deplatform and silence people on the right.
It is. It's also both. I think we see the left more because we're in that bubble. I think the right is doing it too. We just don't. We're not friends with them.
How are the right doing it? They have no power in technology. The tech companies, whether it's Facebook, Google, Twitter, they're all left.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who have this is where it's weird, right? It's because nobody saw this coming. It was media. Like you had Fox News, you had NBC, you had your left and you had your right. More left than right, of sure. But there was power in the Fox News, faction. They had their voice. But when it comes to technology, there's not really an equivalent or commensurate company.
Yeah.
It's all left.
Yeah.
It's all left. There's not one right-leaning, large social media platform.
Right.
They don't exist.
Should just stay out of it. But I get why then you get a Reddit situation where it's like, okay, but suddenly it devolved into just child porn.
Well, Reddit, the problem with Reddit is an anonymity. when you give people anonymity, and one guy actually lost his job because of it, because somebody decided, hey, this guy's such a fucking creep piece of shit. Let's find out who the fuck he is. And they got his IP, and then they figured out who he was. And then he was like some guy who was a dad.
Right.
He was like some regular guy with a job. They got him fired. Like, he had a bunch of weird, kid fucking type posts and a bunch of shit that just people.
But some of it's just like, it's almost like role playing. Where it's like, you're not serious.
Exactly. And it's all said
I saw
under
Holtzman as people were running out of the room yesterday or 2 days ago. He got a full room randomly at the end of the night. Yeah, he spent his first 3 minutes yeah, there's too many people. I don't know what to do. I never get in front of this many people. Like, he couldn't handle it. And then he starts going. They start leaving, and he starts getting angry and more into his pocket, into where he belongs. Yeah. And then as people are leaving, like, he's talking about child fucking and stuff like that. And he goes, hey, guys, peek behind the curtain. I didn't fuck a baby. Just so you know, there were no babies fucked. So calm down.
Well, people don't want to hear about that subject.
Right. And that's fair.
Yeah, they come to the comedy store to hear some wonderful jokes about people losing socks in the dryer.
Right. So actually, honestly, walking out is a fine response.
Yeah.
Saying he can't go up anymore is not a fine response.
It's a different response. Yeah. And saying you're going to boycott the comedy store because they don't do your kind of comedy.
And if you want to boycott them, that's also okay. But just trying to get other people to, and all right.
But this is a problem in that there's no balance, right? If people are just right-leaning and people want to deplatform them because they have right-leaning beliefs and right-leaning ideas, like say if they support President Trump. I mean, he is the president, whether you like it.
And it's like you're allowed to vote for whom you want.
Whether you like it or not, that guy's the president. And whether you like his policies or not, they are his policies. He's the president of the United States. Yeah. And if someone supports that, deplatforming people who support him or support that is not the right response. The right response is a well-worded argument that is against that is convincingly articulate to the point where you make an argument that this is a terrible policy, a terrible idea, and an objective fence rider like myself that watches that and reads it might go, okay, this guy's got a good point on the left.
I want to hear both sides, but I need to hear that side in order to hear the alternative side. Like Dave Smith, who hates all politicians pretty much, he was pointing out these like separating their kids from their parents thing. And he's like, it's gotten real bad with Trump now. And he goes, okay, that's true, but look at the picture they're using. On the bottom right-hand corner, there's a date stamp on it, and it's 2014.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of shenanigans
so
with
like
photographs.
Your anger is not even who you... So I can't even bring that up.
That's just shit journalism. That's what that is. And online journalism... Look, journalists are fucking fighting for their lives right now.
They're bad. Their state of journalism is terrible.
It's terrible. And it's also... There's no money in it. There's a problem is nobody wants to buy newspapers. Nobody wants to buy magazines. And it's really hard for online journalism to not resort to clickbait.
Anger shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally how they make their living now is clickbait shit. And so, they have a photo. This is with the stock photo. We got a little fucking kid who's crying and he's standing in front of a Border Patrol guy. Throw it up. Use it. This is what we got. The story's real. The photo's not. It's shit journalism.
I think it really comes down to like when you see like a Norm Macdonald where he's like, okay, I haven't done anything to anybody wrong. I just want to look with compassion on another human. I'm like, these are friends of mine, the people I know.
What do you be specific? What you're saying about Norm Macdonald?
Well, he said like Roseanne and Louis and like they've lost everything in a day, and people don't really understand what it's like.
Right.
And I would like to see these friends, human beings, friends of mine, come out with the way. And he goes, honestly, I don't think Roseanne knew that lady was black. I don't think she makes that comment. And then people go, fuck you. Your Tonight Show appearance is canceled.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I didn't even do anything. Me and Norm Macdonald didn't do anything. Instead of taking that opportunity to go, hey, let's hear him out. Maybe you can clarify what you mean.
Right.
Even say, no, I didn't mean it that way.
They deplatformed him.
They deplatformed because these women or people, I don't really know who they were, at the Tonight Show had their opportunity to fall on their sword. And they go, now we get to stand up for women's rights. We get to stand up for racial rights.
Well, the way to stand up
instead of going like, let's have him on. Exactly. Yeah. Have him on and say, have Jimmy Fallon go, what did you mean by that exactly? And then to clarify his position to now show, oh, I'm on your side, but people don't want that. They're more interested in punishment.
Yes.